Yes people, how are we? We are back. So, Happy New Year first and foremost. You come here on the 2nd of January, first session of 2024, and we're hitting a different one today in terms of what we've put on the channel before, which is chest and triceps. So this is one of the kind of, I suppose, newest sessions for maybe you guys, because it's not like a push or a pull. Going to 5 days, I've said this in the past, how my split changed when I moved to Stoke. I now do chest and triceps, so I can focus more on that chest in an individual session, and then I do a delts and arms session towards the back end of the week. So first session after a week off. This session I never break records anyway because my shoulder's a bit gammy, but even more so today I am going to be playing it somewhat safe, so showing you guys that I'm going to train hard, but at the same time appreciating having a week off is not the time to go straight back in like a fucking raging bull. That will come, trust me now. So yeah, we'll get straight into the session. Exciting times as well, new year, new logbook. Very kind, this one was a gift from a couple of clients, Brad and Emma, so a little personalised jobby there. I love a new logbook, especially if it's Harry Potter related and if it's personalised. They absolutely smashed it. So we'll get cracking, starting off with isolation on the pec deck, 3 pressing movements, some more isolation on the chest, then we go to triceps, and there is 1 delt movement today, which I'll either put after chest or after triceps. So let's get into it, get a nice pump on. So one thing I do before both this session and the delt session is rattle through some laterals. So I'll go up in weight, 30 reps, 25 reps, 20 reps, 15 reps, which totals, you guys tell me in the maths comment section, but a lot just to generate a load of blood in the shoulder. It definitely makes me feel a little bit safer, and then I can just crack on with the session with a little less mental worry about breaking something. There we go, 90 reps on delts I worked out there. It's a nice little starter. See if this gentleman will let me work in with it. Look at the start. So, prime pec deck. Anyone who's used prime kit will know you get to manipulate the resistance profile. For anyone watching that, if that means nothing to you, don't stress about it. I'm making this slightly harder in a shortened range, not for any overly scientific reason. I'm fresh, so I can challenge that range more, but out of all the settings, setting number 4 I feel the most. At the end of the day, I would go with that as your main driver for choosing things a lot of the time. So, as we're doing chest, and as it is like a focal point for me, and one, it's not a strong body part, certainly a body part that's improved over the past few years. Top tips to kind of improve your chest, what can you do, what you should be looking for, etc. So tip number 1, I think if you're struggling to grow your chest, you're probably struggling to feel and connect with it. So tip number 1 would be do a isolation movement first, so that you really get that connection. Something like a fly is perfect because you're really locked in, there's nothing that can go wrong, everything's going to go through that abduction, adduction of the arm, and you're going to be able to get a nice contraction in the chest. For me, that then sets me up perfectly. Moving on to a press, I have more proprioception, more awareness of actually contracting my chest through the press. So taking that through, nice stretch. big squeeze. I'm still looking to progress over, the weeks of my training cycle, but something like an isolation can be quite easy to cheat, quicken your tempo, shorten your range. So make that the kind of first port of call with your thought process as you enter each step. Oh, such a nice pec deck. The prime pec deck. Not all pec decks are created equal, and this is definitely my favourite of all time. So, tip number 2 when it comes to how to progress and develop your chest. A lot of people will have a weaker upper chest in the grand scheme of things, and when we're looking at that kind of thickness, I'd love to say I had more of a shelf, but if you have that kind of real full shelf, that's what you want, both from a bodybuilding point of view and, quite frankly, just if you're going to be out on the town looking like a buff motherfucker. So what do we do to hit that? We want to make sure we're hitting our incline movements, and again, because that should be a priority, I would place them kind of as the first sequence of your pressing movements. So next up for me is an incline press. Going to hit that, going to work on the upper shelf and going to get it done. Straight into tip number 3. Don't be afraid of machines. Old school boys and ladies will say barbell, dumbbell work is great. If you've got a strong chest, you're going to grow no matter what you do. If you struggle to connect with it, let's make it as easy as possible. So something like this is perfect. Stable, locked in. I can focus on my chest even more. And the great thing about this, and again, if you get the choice of machines, if you can look at something that converges, so comes in at the top, that's going to help, again, create that contraction instead of just pushing straight like if you were with a barbell. You get more out your chest if you come in. So, absolutely love this machine. As a side note, not to go on about my gammy shoulder, but it feels great. We've got 2 choices of handles. I use the kind of slightly wider ones, and yeah, it just feels perfect. So big fan, and it allows me, most importantly, to progress my lift over time. So top set here feels really good today. I'm staying true to my own advice at the beginning of the session. I won't lie, the temptation to put on another plate was there. I've just gone half a plate, which still is actually more than I've lifted ever on this. Now, guys who have used this machine will know that actually this isn't that much weight. It is a fairly easy machine for weight you can lift, but progress is progress. I'm keeping it sensible. So, gonna hit this, then hit a back off, and keep the progress coming. So whatever weight you have on the bar machine, it's all fairly irrelevant as long as you're pushing to failure or proximity of I say that because today it's not about the grinding reps, but it's also not about training like a pussy, because we don't want to waste any sessions, do we? So, things to consider when you want to grow your chest. Tip number 3 or 4, I've already lost count. While I mentioned about favouring an incline for the majority of people, also don't neglect the other angles. So your flat presses, your declines, even like, you know, dip is going to work that kind of lower chest portion. So if you want to really obviously create a nice full developed muscle, you want to ensure that you are kind of hitting all the angles that you can. So we're on a flat machine here. Again, another machine for the isolation, for the fact that it's locked in and I can really just focus on doing what needs to be done. I like this one because of the loading, and also I actually find with having the seat a bit higher, it is a little bit like a decline sort of press for me. So yeah, don't neglect your angles. Probably should have mentioned this earlier, but I can only apologise for the state of my beard and my hair. It's been a rough 3 weeks. I did try and get in for a haircut, but they had no space. So tomorrow I will not be looking as scrappy. Unfortunately today, you guys just got to deal with it. But it's a bit of a pain because this is getting so long now. When I drink my protein shake, I keep about half of it in there for most of the day. So the next tip isn't necessarily about chest, because I want you to apply it to every muscle group, but log your sessions. I've said this before in ways of developing tissue. If you don't track what you're lifting, how can you get stronger? How can you be consistent? So the logbook I will always stand behind. I know there are guys out there, like with everything in bodybuilding, who disagree, but I think particularly for a beginner, and I'm far from a beginner, still use one, it's an extremely useful tool. So log your lifts, progress your lifts, and this can be your best friend. So third and final press, we're going another Atlantis piece, this time with a narrower neutral grip. So arguably a little bit more tricep in here, but again, it's a bit of variation and it feels good. So we'll take this, then hit some volume through cable crossovers before moving on to the triceps or delts. I can't remember which comes next. Skills. So the nice thing about this is it's actually got a neutral grip that I can fit in. Like a lot of particularly like the side decks I found, they always have a neutral variation, but it's like fucking there. So I like this because I can use it. Coming towards the end of the tips now, but there's certainly one more that is worth mentioning, and that's range of motion. Make sure you're getting the most out of your movements by taking it deep. You know, we don't need to go so that your fucking hands are past your shoulders, but the amount of people I see sort of pressing just like that, you're missing out on so much. And the reason you're doing it is probably because when you do take it deeper, you feel weak as piss. And I'll tell you why, it's because you don't spend any time there. So if you're new watching this, start taking your movements through range of motion. If you're not new to listening to this and you're in a bad habit, lower the weight, build the strength up where you're weaker, and then progress. And again, it's not rocket science. You take a muscle through its fullest range of motion, under load, varying rep schemes, varying tempos, varying angles, you're going to stimulate it. And if you're in a surplus, you're going to struggle not to grow. Genetics will dictate by how much, but you're putting yourself in the best possible place. Little shout out to the sponsors here. Finally, I'm able to wear my Silverback elbow sleeves. These came out about 3 or 4 months ago, but because of my shoulder, I haven't merited lifting anywhere near heavy enough to wear them. Even now, probably could do without, but I like to feel hardcore and I like to support. But these are fantastic, developed by world's strongest man competitor Adam Bishop, who I used to go to uni with. And obviously you've seen me in the knee sleeves from the start, but they do a really good range. And they're good for bodybuilders in my opinion, especially these, I think these are like 6mm. They offer enough support without actually putting numbers on your lift. So support and warmth without taking away from your muscles doing the work. Okay, let's go. Whoa. That was on the limit of maybe what I should or shouldn't be doing. I imagine I'll have a very sore chest tomorrow, but I just fucking love training. I'm not hurting myself though. Don't do that. Those green blocks you've seen me use pretty much on most of the machines. And that's just to give a friendly start position, so I'm not working out of a retarded range and putting so much stress through my shoulders. And obviously as soon as I press up, they drop out and I can go through my set. So regardless of shoulder health, I'd say if you can use something like that on machine presses, you're probably going to benefit from it long term. My shoulder health not being the best and the biggest stress being at the bottom, it's an absolute essential for me. Cool, so the final tip. Now, the ones before this I wouldn't say need to be in any particular order, they're all important. This is probably the least important but still worth considering. Metabolic work, volume work. So timing's important here. You don't want to do a load of volume for the sake of it at the beginning of a session, fatigue yourself, compromise your major lifts. But after your major lifts, great time to do it. So here I'm doing the cable crossover, 2 sets of 20 reps, short rest in between, Final set is a double rest pause, so I'm going to take it to failure, 10 breaths, failure, 10 breaths, failure. So driving a load of blood into the muscle and basically emptying the tank, putting it all out there, and we've covered all the bases there. Isolation, locked in, progressive overload, metabolic work, try not to grow. So triceps, 2 exercises, good old faithful cable extensions. Those who've watched previous videos know that this is my preferred setup. Freedom of the wrist, less stress on the elbows, great connection on the triceps. And then after this, going to do an old favourite of mine. I've not done it until this rotation, which is skull crushers, barbell skull crushers. I get a really nice feel out of them, always have done. I had to back off for a while because they caused me some elbow issues, but I'm being smart reintroducing them, and so far so good, so I'll run with them until I break. I'm just perving on Mr. Eddie Hall's calves. They're absolutely fucking ridiculous. Finishing the session off, lateral raise machine. Again, probably the best lateral raise machine there is. 5 sets, high volume, load of blood in the delts, and that's the session done. Let's finish strong. Oh, I'm a bit out of breath. I'm heavy at the minute, as you know. So that's that session done. Chest and triceps, touch of delts at the end. Fantastic session. First session of 2024 ticked off. Obviously, you guys know from chapter 1, the goal, the end goal is shows. Hopefully you guys watched my last video. If you haven't, watch it. But I've picked my shows now. We know the direction, so every single session has even more purpose behind it. You know, the desperation for progress over the next 11 weeks is real. And then we bring it in, see what is under this chubby, hairy body, and hopefully be looking the best I ever have. Be competitive on the pro stage, and embrace my final times as a competitive bodybuilder. So very exciting, very good start to the year. Thank you so much for the support, kind of, especially the last month or so. Things have kind of gone up a notch on the channel, which makes me kind of really, really happy. I won't lie. I know it's only numbers, it's only YouTube, but it means a lot. So thank you very much. Please keep supporting, subscribe, comment, tell all your mates about it, tell your mum. She'll love it, I'm sure. Thank you very much. See you guys later.